Yep, I can hear you. Thank you so much for coming into Surgence and hosting this, by the way.
Of course. Pleasure to be here.
Let me just do a quick announcement to get people going in. Okay. Nice. Okay. That. And where are you based, John?
Usually I'm in Las Vegas, but I'm currently in Norway.
Oh wow. So what time is it for you over there?
It's just noon, so it's not too bad.
Okay. Nice. Alright. We'll give it a few more minutes to get people going, loading in. Have you ever done a session before?
Yes, I've done numerous sessions. I actually work with Boring Security as well, and we do classes, especially around social media security.
That's awesome. I need to look into that. Alright.
I love you, doodles, bro.
All right, let's get it started. John, I'm not too sure if you have a presentation, but if so, that is cool. If not, that's totally okay as well.
Yeah, let me just try and get it to work here.
Oh, good. Yay!
Does that work?
Yes, I can see it. Can everyone else see it? Let me just check that. Everyone type yes if you guys can see it in the chat. Yep, thanks, Brown. Yes, thank you. Awesome. Yep, they can see it.
Cool.
Ooh.
I can wait a couple of more minutes here just to see if anyone else pops up from the announcement.
Yeah.
Don't think we're in too much of a rush.
Perfect. No worries. I just popped up. Okay, we reached 30 mark. You can go ahead and start. People will start eventually rolling in. Just because we had like a session before that, before your session as well. So people just went to take a break, but you should be all good.
All right. So today's session is pretty loose. We're going to be talking about just general Web3 safety, ideas about how to keep your own wallet safe. We're going to be talking a little bit about social media phishing as well, kind of just all over the place. Happy to make this pretty interactive. I'm going to keep the chat open. So if anyone has any questions while things are going on, feel free to just type in there. But I think we can start just with the general social media phishing stuff. So I think it's helpful, especially in the context of Twitter and Discord, to sort of discuss what the attackers really want to do. The common attack at this point is basically taking over a social media account and directing people towards a website. The whole goal of the attacker is they want people to visit the website because the website has what's called a wallet drainer on it. What a wallet drainer is basically just a bunch of JavaScript. It looks at the wallet when you connect it. It calculates what your most valuable assets are, and then it constructs a signature basically automatically that it has you sign, which will try and drain the assets that you own in a number of different ways. So one thing that it can do is it can look at your wallet that you connected, notice that you have an old proxy that you used to use with the old OpenSea protocol, and then assign itself to that proxy, which would then give it access to all of your NFT assets that you approve that proxy to trade with. So with one signature, it gives you access to a whole bunch of different NFT assets. Without getting too into the weeds on that, basically the website is going to figure out the most it can steal with a signature. So what the attackers want to do is they want to direct people to that website. They want people to notice that they should go to that website, and they usually do this with fake announcements. And I'm sure everyone here has seen one of those fake announcements. If you've seen a compromise and a fake announcement, just type in chat, like, which project did you see that got compromised? Pretty much everyone, if you've been in a space for more than a couple of weeks, you've seen one of these events occur. So just recently, I saw Ordinal's wallet got compromised yesterday. Their Twitter account got compromised. That case was because they were using 2FA, SMS-based 2FA. So they got SIM swapped, which let the attackers get into their account. Probably didn't have additional password protection on either. So yeah, that was pretty bad. But yeah, a lot of projects getting compromised. On the Discord side, this presentation is mostly going to be about Discord. But this is all that the attackers actually want, and this is what is called a Discord token. So the way to think about this is your Discord token is what your Discord client is using to communicate with Discord servers. It's basically just a little bit of gibberish, a bunch of random characters, and it's generated when you log in with your username, password, and 2FA code. So the reason that this exists is so you don't have to enter in your Discord username and password every single time you want to send a message. It's basically telling Discord network, Discord servers that you are authenticated, you are who you say you are, and you're allowed to send messages. The downside to this is if the attackers get hold of this Discord token, they can prove to the Discord servers that they are you. So the way the Discord's set up and how their network architecture works makes it very, very easy for them to both get access to this Discord token through a number of different schemes that we're going to talk about, as well as be able to use it. A lot of different services will potentially lock authentication tokens like this to a certain IP address or make it time-based or something like that. Discord just doesn't do any of that. Yes, joining new servers is always fraught with a whole bunch of spam DMs, which we'll talk about later. So this is probably the most technical part of the presentation. It's part of the slides from Boring Security as well, which if you want to take more classes on how to stay safe, I definitely recommend the Boring Security classes. They're free. So if you just go and join the Boring Security Discord, you can get into the classes for absolutely free. If you're part of a community, you can actually have community branded events run by Boring Security as well. And you get a cute little POAP for doing it as well. But yeah, this is where the Discord token lives. So there's a number of different places it can be found. I just bring this up so if you ever have something that is starting to get near one of these locations, red flags can hopefully start popping up. So the number one spot is in developer tools on discord.com. So developer tools are like a debugging tool that allow you to interact with JavaScript applications and figure out, what's going wrong with them. It's used, as the name implies, by developers mostly. I was trying to get to that Certix space yesterday, I was unfortunately on a train, which makes me sad, but glad to be here. We'll talk about the different like fake verification gates as well, Phoenix, a little bit later in. This is more still focused around the really like one-on-one personal phishing. But it does talk a little bit. So all of those different malicious verification gates are going after your Discord token. So if you can figure out where your Discord token lives, it'll help you better defend it, especially against new phishing attacks that occur in the future that I can't potentially tell you about because they're going to be new and novel. But yeah, so developer tools used by developers, it's how you interface with JavaScript apps and try and fix them. If you enter in code into your developer tools on discord.com, you can have your Discord token stolen. So never actually copy and paste anything into the console on developer tools. Additionally, in developer tools, there is a place called local storage in there. It's basically where web applications store things like cookies and other information that are needed by web apps to actually function. That local storage is limited to the website that you're on. So only if you're running code on discord.com can you interact with the cookies and the information that's stored in local storage there. So if you ever run scripts on discord.com, you're going to have attackers being able to access your tokens. So never run third-party scripts anywhere on discord.com. And those third-party scripts can come from JavaScript bookmarklets, so bookmarks that you drag to your bookmarks bar, or buttons that you drag to your bookmarks bar. They can come from like third-party Chrome extensions as well. So you got to be careful about the Chrome extensions that you're using. And yeah, so developer tools also has some other locations where your Discord token is going to be in like your network logs. Pretty much it, but it's all over the place in there. So never open up your developer tools, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If someone asks you to open up your developer tools on discord.com, it's a scam, so don't do it. Additionally, we mentioned the local storage in developer tools. That local storage also exists on your hard drive as well. So there's a number of different places on your hard drive where your Discord token is stored as well. And the way to think about that to prove it is every time you open up Discord, you don't have to re-enter your username password 2FA, because that would be annoying. So when your Discord client is closed, your Discord client needs to store that information, that Discord token, somewhere on your computer. So that's why it's stored on your hard drive. And the situation where this causes issues is usually if you download malware. So if you download malware, pretty much even non-NFT specific malware at this point will go and try and steal your Discord token. So you have to be really careful about anything you download. And yes, Habibi, that's the issue. Alpha or beta. Are you talking about alpha? Like downloading any new like alpha or beta like testing software for people? Like that's the issue here. You're running code on your machine that could be malicious, that could infect it with malware, and malware is a giant pain in the ass. If you get infected with malware, you have to basically nuke that computer entirely, reinstall the OS. It's just not worth it to try and even like remove the malware. It's just not feasible. So you have to nuke everything, and then you have to reset all of your passwords for everything that computer has ever touched. It's a pain. If you are actually in a profession or doing something where you need to download like beta apps from people on the regular, I'd actually recommend just getting like a secondary computer to run that on, or doing it inside of a VM instead, because it's dangerous. Last place that your token lives is actually on your mobile app, your mobile Discord app. there's a feature on the mobile Discord app called Scan QR Code. This is used if you want to log into discord.com on a different computer. You can open up that Scan QR Code feature, scan a QR code on the login page, and it will log you in. That's what the feature was developed for. Scammers actually are using it in new Discord servers that you might join in the verification gate process. They'll say, hey, we need you to scan this QR code with your Discord mobile app to prove you're not a robot. But as I just mentioned before, if you know what that feature actually does, it's going to log the attacker into your account. Essentially, it's going to share the Discord token with them. So if anyone ever tells you to scan a QR code with your Discord mobile app, don't do it. It's a scam. Which we'll talk about that a little bit further in as well. But reiterating this stuff is not a bad thing. So attackers' whole goal is to do two things, at least with Discord compromises. Get the ability to post an announcement or make a new announcement channel and ping everyone in the server to alert them to their fake mint airdrop website where the wallet drainer lives. Now, this is particularly important if you are a moderator, community manager, admin in any server. And it's very easy to figure out if you have elevated permissions in whatever servers you might be. Discord permissions are pretty transparent. There are a lot of third-party tools that break Discord's terms of service that let you see a lot more information than you probably should be. So yeah, if you have elevated permissions in any Discord server that's related to crypto, you are a risk. And also depending on what your position is and how the server is set up, potentially you have more permissions than you realize. There's a number of Discord compromises I've seen where a moderator gets compromised who assumes he doesn't really have much power, but the attackers are able to abuse how poorly the server is set up to actually elevate that account to an admin permission, which is a little terrifying. So you have to be really careful. And if you think about the motivation for this, right, and the reason that they've spent so much time, resources, developing tools, websites, etc., a single Discord compromise can result in, $10,000 to $50,000 to $100,000 stolen from the community. So, yeah, they're very well incentivized and more than happy to compromise people to, potentially steal hundreds of thousands of dollars. So now we're going to talk more about different phishing gates and how they potentially get your Discord token. So a lot of the time they'll reach out to moderators, team members, and sometimes they'll do this to random community members too. And they'll offer you a really good job. The job could be a moderator position with a different project. It could be testing riddles was one scheme that they were using a lot a while back for no apparent reason. They'll either give you a ridiculous salary offer, or they'll give you one that's more in line with what you're expecting. So they'll reach out and then they'll have you go and join a new Discord and have you verify there. And you're going to see a trend. A lot of the time, these Discord token compromises will happen because someone joined a new Discord and then went through their verification process. So a lot of really malicious verification gates, which we'll go over with some examples as well. And then a really other, it's less common, but it does affect people is downloading malware. So might be someone who says, oh, I just developed this cool play to earn game. Might be because you clicked on a link when you searched for something that was a promoted link on Google that went to a different website. There's a lot of different potential ways that you can accidentally download malware. But yeah, you just have to be really, really careful every single time you download anything, even trusted software. So make sure you're on the actual website you're going to. Always double check before running anything that you download. And yeah, if someone sends you just an exe file on Discord, just ignore it and don't ever run that, please. So yeah, this is the thing I was talking a little bit about before. If you ever get to a verification gate where it says drag this button to your bookmarks bar and do anything with it, that is a scam. Essentially, what this is doing is that button that you're dragging has a whole bunch of JavaScript in it. And what that JavaScript will do is if you click it on discord.com, it will read your Discord token from the local storage on discord.com and then send it to the attackers through a Discord webhook, actually, usually, and give the attackers access to your Discord token. So basically, to stay safe from this, just run away anytime someone tells you to do anything with a button to drag to your bookmarks bar. Yeah, just run away. There's never going to be a legitimate reason for anyone to demand that you use a bookmarklet. And once you know what it is, once you know that a bookmarklet is just a bunch of random JavaScript, this scheme just doesn't work very well. Oh yes, we'll talk about cold admins. Do not worry. We will talk lots about cold admins. Screen sharing false accusations. So another phishing scheme that was pretty popular for a while was they'd get you banned out of a server. So they'd come join the Surgence Discord server. They would go to, report a scam or even privately DM the moderators, provide fake evidence that you did something malicious or said something rude. And then get you banned out of whatever server that you were in. So let's continue with the Surgence example. So you'd be banned out of Surgence, and then they would impersonate the moderator or admin, send you a DM and say, hey, we just banned you out of Surgence. You'd go and check your sidebar, and yep, you were banned. And at that point, you're talking with the attackers, and they'd say, hey, we want to make sure you didn't actually send some messages. Can you screen share with us? At that point, they try and get you to open up your developer tools, et cetera, et cetera. And as we already know, your Discord token lives there. So if you screen share and you have your Discord developer tools open, there's a good chance you're going to lose your Discord token. So if anyone ever asks you to screen share with them, it's going to be most likely a scam. If a moderator ever reaches out to you and says you were banned and to join their appeals verification server, it's a scam. It's better just to reach out to the project over Twitter directly and figure out, why you were banned instead. This one is a little bit tricky. So this is usually part of a Discord verification gate. It'll be a bot. It'll say, hey, to register, you need to click this link. And when you click the link to register, a pop-up like this will pop up that says an external application wants to access your Discord account. If you click authorize here, this doesn't give them access to your Discord token. But what's happening is after you click authorize, it will redirect you to a website, and Discord won't give you a pop-up saying, hey, we're redirecting you outside of Discord to this website with these OAuth connections. So it's basically just a way to direct you to a website without any pop-up saying, hey, you're leaving Discord. The website that you go to is going to be usually a fake Discord login page. So it'll try and get you to enter your username, password, and 2FA. And if you enter all of those parts in, obviously they'll get access to your Discord account. Let's see. Someone is very loud. Taha, you're loud.
Let me find
Thank
out
you.
person. Okay, all good.
So yeah, basically to protect yourself against this type of phishing verification gate, if you ever see that authorization pop up when you're trying to verify, it's going to be a scam. There's one bot that requires it, which is really freaking annoying. It's captcha.bot. Very few servers use it, and quite frankly, I would just not join a server if they use that bot because it's pain. But yeah, just be very careful. And yeah, if you ever do something like this, and always check what website you're on if you ever input your username, password, 2FA. Which actually leads pretty well, I think, into another thing we should discuss, which is using a password manager. I'm actually curious. In the audience, is there anyone who is currently not using a password manager? If you are, just say, like, raise your hand, send me a waving emoji or something like that. I've done a lot of these classes, so there's usually like 30% of people not using a password manager. Someone who doesn't even know what a paper, that is still a password manager if you have all your passwords on paper. Okay, so there's a couple of people. So if you're going to actually learn anything from this class, using a password manager is going to be like the one thing I want you to take away from this. It's impossible at this point, in my opinion, to basically exist in crypto or NFT projects without a password manager. There's just too many different things that you need to be logged into. And you need to be using really long, secure passwords, which it's just impossible to memorize. And you should be using unique passwords for each different website. So what the issue is if you fell for like this Discord phishing login page, the attackers actually will go and use that password on all of your other accounts. So they'll try and get into your email, they'll try and get into your Twitter account, they'll probably try and get into your Snapchat account just because they're assholes. If you're using different passwords on different accounts, it's going to minimize how much damage occurs if you accidentally leak your Discord password. But if you're using the same password everywhere, you're screwed. So I really recommend you don't have to switch everything over, but just go and download a password manager today. If you're new, the one I recommend is 1Password, which I believe is onepassword.com. Let me just double check. Yeah, onepassword.com. Just set it up. Set it up today. The setup is not very long. You are going to have to create a master password. And I recommend that your master password should be somewhere like over 20 characters long. So maybe 25, 28 characters. Yes, which we'll talk about in a second, Phoenix. Paper is okay, but paper can also get lost. Usually what I recommend is using a password manager for everything and then using paper specifically for any of your really important accounts. So like if you're doing like anything with seed phrases should never go into a password manager, obviously. That should just be on paper. But like if you have a secure email account or something like that, putting that on paper might be a better route. But yeah, 1Password is what I recommend. Make sure that you set up a really strong master password. And what I recommend with the master password is, as I mentioned before, putting the master password on paper. So write down the master password on paper. Make sure it's 20, 25, 28, and it could just be random characters because you're going to write it down on paper. Maybe write it down on 2 pieces of paper so you have a backup as well. And just go through that process to get it set up so you can start using it. Usually what happens with this is after you use a password manager for a couple of days, you start realizing how difficult it would be to go back to not using a password manager, and it will help reinforce using it. So the questions, isn't the possibility of having your password manager code compromised going to affect the rest of all the other codes? Yes, but pretty much every password manager lets you set up 2FA as well. So set up 2FA on your password manager. It can be app-based 2FA, it could be a security key. You can actually set up your ledger as a security key as well, which is kind of cool. So you could actually have your ledger protecting your password manager, depending on which one you're using. Which let me send you the link for that. Here's the documentation if you want to use your ledger as a security key, which is kind of fun. But yeah, just using like an app-based authenticator like Google Auth or Authy is going to be fine. But yeah, you should still keep your master password safe, obviously. But the likelihood of you getting phished for your password manager password is less likely than you getting phished for one of your social media account passwords. Paper's good. What to do if your account was hacked? What measures are needed in that exact moment? Fast reaction. Chris, I'm going to ask for clarification. Um, how secure are the passwords generated by the password manager apps? Usually actually pretty good. They're not using anything like crazy for entropy or anything like that, but for what the passwords are needed for, it's fine. There haven't been like many cases that I've seen of password manager like RNG being flawed. And regardless, it's not going to work to try and brute force that. It's not the type of thing that's going to be brute forced pretty easily. Google Auth and Authy are great. Just the other thing that you should make sure is with Google Auth and Authy to make sure you don't have a cloud backup of those 2FA keys. You should be doing backups like on offline devices or old devices. So like an old phone that you have lying around, you can download those apps and import them and have that be your like offline backup. Storing it in the cloud is dangerous because if attackers get access to your email account somehow, or SIM swap you potentially, they can get access to those 2FA codes. So you just have to consider that as a risk. We'll talk about cold admins later. I actually don't think the best password manager is your brain. Brains are a little flawed and can forget things easily. If you want to do something like that, I would recommend something called Spectre, which basically just is a password manager without a password manager. It uses deterministic passwords based on your master password, which is pretty cool. It's not user friendly, so I don't recommend it for most people. But if you want to step up your security game and mildly inconvenience yourself, that's a route that you can take. Yeah, honestly, like the other thing is what's nice about a password manager is it's faster to log in once you have everything set up than it would be even using memorized passwords that you know. Just because it's literally you click a button and you're in. We'll talk more about cold admins. But yeah, so my recommendation again, like the number one thing you can do to up your security game today is just to set up a password manager and start using it. Like that's it. And if you're involved in crypto, like you need to do it. So just get it started, get it done. Anyways, onwards with the phishing gate. After we get through all the phishing gates, we can talk a little bit more about Discord server security, I think. Yeah, so for this one, we already talked about this, so it should be pretty obvious. If you join a server and a bot tells you to scan a QR code from your Discord mobile app, as we are aware, doing that's just going to give them your Discord token. So if a server ever asks you to scan a QR code to enter, just don't. It's a scam. This one's a little sneaky. Sometimes you might get invited to join a server, and they might be like, "Oh, sorry, it's token gated. You need an NFT to actually join." They might then send you that NFT for free. What a nice guy, right? But the scam server is going to have a fake Collabland bot, a fake Vulkan bot, maybe a fake Matrica bot, and it's going to redirect you to go to a different website than their official websites. And that website will either try and steal your Discord token, maybe with a bookmarklet, but sometimes it's also going to try and drain your wallet as well. So it might have a wallet drainer on there as well. So it might be asking you to connect your wallet, and then the signature that you think is to verify that you own this NFT is actually going to drain your wallet and any valuable things you have in there. So just you have to be really, really careful about these token gated servers. You have to be really careful every single time you go to verify your account or your wallet with one of these servers or bots. Vulkan is never going to ask you to actually sign anything or send you to a website. So if Vulkan asks you to do either of those things, it's a scam bot. Collabland does tell you to go to their website, does tell you to sign things. So you just have to make sure you're always on the actual Collabland website, collab.land. Pain in the ass. So be really, really careful every time that you have to do anything with Collabland. You can't trust the little check verified bot thing. You can't trust what the bot's username looks like. Both are possible to impersonate. So you just have to make sure you're going where you're supposed to go. With Collabland, it stores previous wallets you've already verified. So if you go to a server and it doesn't have any of your previous wallets listed there and tries to get you to go sign something, it's probably a scam. So yeah, just got to be careful. This one's pretty old and not really NFT related, but there's ever someone that DMs you and says, "Hey, here's some free Nitro, Discord Nitro, totally legit. Go to this website to redeem it." It's gonna be a scam. Don't accept the free Nitro as much as you want to. Yeah, and going to the website can lead to a new number of different ways where you could lose your Discord token. And then, yeah, this is similar with password managers. If your shared password that you use everywhere else gets leaked on any of the different websites that you use it, the website might not ever actually tell you that your password was leaked. They might just push it under the rug, especially if they're a US company and have no obligations to report any of that. Yay, USA. So yeah, just use a password manager, and that's going to help where, if your Discord password gets leaked, it's a random bunch of gibberish that isn't used anywhere else. So it doesn't impact any of the rest of your accounts. And always make sure you have 2FA on all of your accounts, especially the important ones, especially your email. We talked a little bit about Twitter compromises earlier on. A big reason for these Twitter compromises occurring is because people's linked emails to their Twitter account aren't secured or have SMS-based recovery. So if you have SMS-based recovery on your email account associated with your Twitter account, they can just get into the email with a SIM swap, and then you're in for a bad time. So yeah, check your email accounts as well, and make sure you don't have SMS recovery or SMS 2FA turned on for anything. These are not super relevant. These are not super relevant either. Community scams is something we could talk about a little bit later, but I think we want to talk a bit about keeping a Discord server secure. So I'm actually just curious, does anyone in the chat, either moderate for a project or maybe as an admin of a Discord server in the space? Do we have any community managers in the chat?
Yeah, I am for Surgence.
Cool. We got a guaranteed one then.
Don't hack me,
I-
guys.
Gonna double check if there were any. Okay, used to set up bots. Okay. Yeah, so Phoenix, you said that's what you do. Okay, cool. If you actually use Spectre, you're like the first person I've met who actually uses it, which thumbs up. It's totally fine. It's just a little bit less convenient. Using that or using like KeyPass offline are both more secure options than Google Cloud Storage. I think like the scale is basically one, not using a password manager, two, using LastPass, which is mildly better, but don't use LastPass, please. Three, using a cloud-based password manager like 1Password or Bitwarden. Four, using a cloud-based password manager that you self-host, which would be like Bitwarden's open source self-hosted version. 5, using a not offline, but locally hosted password manager like KeePass. 6, like the most extreme would be using an entirely offline password manager solution, which could be potentially like a separate device to manage your passwords, or paper. So like that's like the sliding scale of like reduced attack vectors potentially. But if you have all your passwords stored on paper, you have 2 big risks. The first one is obviously losing it. The second one is if anyone gets physical access to that piece of paper and you don't have something that either encrypts it or is like missing information, they can potentially get into all of your accounts as well. So yeah, that's the sliding scale of pain and suffering. The farther you get in, and the harder it is to actually use anything. Okay, so for server setups, we can talk about security bots too. The whole goal of setting up a Discord server should be to limit permissions to whoever needs it. So principle of least access. Basically, you should only have access to what you actually need day to day to function. So limiting what permissions moderators, team members, community managers have is going to be the first thing you can do to really lock down your server. For the most part, like moderators do not need managed role permissions. They never need managed webhook permissions. They probably don't need kick permissions. They just need ban permissions. So looking at what permissions each role has and limiting them is going to be the best thing you can do to actually secure your server. Secondly, as we mentioned before, security bots. Security bots are pretty important. There are a number of different things you need coverage of. You need anti-impersonation. So what this means is it's a bot that's looking for users who join the server and then rename their username to a team member, and then start either DMing people or talking in threads and trying to convince people that they're actual team members. So the only impersonation bot that I really have to recommend at this point is Hashbot, which I'll type these in the chat. And Hashbot will just look for people who are joining and changing their username or their nickname to team members' usernames or profile pictures and just immediately ban them. So just deletes them instantly. It's fantastic. If you're running any open community server, I recommend that you should have this bot. Gets rid of a lot of problems. Next bot is going to be an anti-nuke bot, which is going to be Wick. There is security bot, but it's not as good in my opinion. Wick is a lot more fully fledged, a lot better. I pretty much always install Wick into every single server I touch. Depends on what you're using it for. I don't know what slowness you're talking about. Yes, actually, basically, if you get infected with malware, those steps are good. Yeah, if your computer gets infected with malware, you just have to entirely wipe it and then reinstall the OS entirely. Yeah, I recommend Wick Premium. Normal Wick isn't going to work most of the time. Wick Premium, in my opinion, is worth it just for the vanity URL guard. So I recommend Wick Premium. But yeah, Wick is an anti-nuke bot. It's also an auto mod bot. It's also something you can use to manage your kicks and bans, which I recommend. Basically, what Wick does is it looks for any anomalies from any potentially compromised accounts. If it notices it, it will quarantine that account, basically send them to jail. Can you tell if a Mac is malware? I mean, yeah, you can tell, or you could not tell. It could just be silent. It could be a rat. Macs can get malware. Linux can get malware. It's just rarer because there was actually a tweet about this where someone noticed that someone tried to install malware on their Linux device and it didn't work. So they actually went through and tried to troubleshoot it to try and get it to work. And after like 6 hours of troubleshooting it and finding all the errors of why it didn't work, they just ended up sending $5 to the guy's Bitcoin address because they felt bad about it. how without having an antivirus? Like, how can you actually detect if there's malware on the Mac? If your computer starts doing weird shit, pretty much is is the answer. Like, antivirus isn't going to catch a whole lot of the sophisticated spear phishing that can occur in Web3 and crypto as well. So, like, you're not going to necessarily detect malware on Windows devices either. So, yeah, dangerous. So yeah, Wick for anti-nuke. Wick has a whole huge documentation of everything that it does. It's very complex. Takes some time to set up, but super recommended. The next one is going to be an anti-link spot, and the one I have to recommend is Goodnight. Goodnight is the best in class right now for a links whitelist. And what a links whitelist is, or a links allow list, is basically you set up a number of links that are allowed, a number of domains that are safe. And you basically you say, Goodnight, these are the safe links, and any links that some community member posts that are not included with those links will get just instantly deleted. And this is obviously helpful because, you know, when a community member says, oh no, I just signed something wrong, where do I go to revoke a transaction or approvals? And someone immediately links, oh, go to revoke.app, which is not the right address. It's revoke.cache. Goodnight will delete this immediately. So having a links whitelist in place is super, super, super important. And also, another benefit of Goodnight as well is it's an option that you can use for 2FA announcements as well. Revoke.cache, it depends on the draining, Malik. So this is going to require going into token approvals, which is, I'll do the simplified version of it. When you go to OpenSea, normally, to do a legitimate transaction, the thing that you have to do to actually sell an NFT on OpenSea is you have to sign an approval with the NFT's smart contract, the collection, to basically saying, like, hey, smart contract, I want OpenSea to be able to sell these NFTs for me. So you give OpenSea approval to your NFTs to sell them, right? That's intended. That's the legitimate route. What's happening when you interact with a wallet drainer is you're saying, hey, NFT collection, this guy I just met here, super cool. I want him to be able to interact and move all my NFTs for me. And that's what a token approval is. So if you interact with a wallet drainer and you interact with one where it asks for token approvals, you've given access to that to those NFTs specifically to that attacker. So after you're drained, after your NFTs are gone, if you don't revoke those approvals and you transfer an NFT back into that wallet, the scammer can move that NFT out again. So this actually hit a Bored Ape who got drained. He bought a new Bored Ape and transferred it back to the same wallet where it got drained again. So got hit for 2 apes out of it because he didn't revoke the right thing. So it is important, and it's important to know, and it's a little confusing. You have to look at the actual transaction to see what you signed and whether you signed approvals or not to something else. So it depends on each transaction, so I don't have like a one-size-fit-all. My general recommendation, though, is if you interacted with a wallet drainer and you don't know what happened, just start a new wallet. It's going to be faster. It's going to be easier. You don't have to revoke any approvals at that point. Just start fresh, start clean. There are occasions where you want to or need to keep an old wallet, which at that point, like, I just recommend reaching out to someone who works with Web3 security stuff to get a little bit of assistance and seeing what happened. It's gonna be easier that way. But yeah, just if you can avoid wallet drainers, that's gonna be the best option. Anti-nuke, anti-impersonation, anti-link. Oh yeah, so Goodnight also does 2FA announcements. 2FA announcements are super important. Mia, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
So for Surgence right now, if you want to go and make an announcement, how do you make an announcement?
It will be through the core team. So me, Rufy, Steam, and Joni.
So you just go into the announcements channel and you make the announcement and then you ping everyone.
Yes, correct.
So the downside to this method, the upside is it's convenient, but the downside to this method is if anyone on the core team was to get compromised, the attacker can
Yeah.
go in and do the exact same thing that you're talking about and put out a fake announcement. And this is where
Yeah.
a 2FA bot, like Goodnight, or I have an open source one pinned on my Twitter account too called HQ Announcements. If you use a 2FA bot, every single time you go and make an announcement, you have to do a command first with the bot. You have to enter in a separate 2FA code that you set up. And when you do that, then the bot gives you permissions to type in the announcements channel and gives you ping everyone permissions at that point.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
what that basically means is if your Discord account gets compromised, the attacker can't do anything. They don't have that 2FA code. So
Right.
it makes it so that if you use that bot and you set it up correctly and everything else, it makes it so that there isn't anyone in your server that you can actually phish to do announcements, which makes the server a lot safer.
That's actually really good. I'll have a look at this after.
So Goodnight can do it for sure. I have a bot as well. I think Pandas has one too if you want to pay a lot more money. But yeah, you can definitely do it with Goodnight and play around with it. So yeah, that is a huge one that I recommend. And also, I guess worth mentioning too, even if you're not a community manager or anything like that, looking at a server that you join's Discord setup will also tell you how much care they put into it, right? So if you join a new Discord server community and they don't have any bots handling anti-nuke, they don't have any bots that can handle anti-links whitelist, they don't have any bots that can handle anti-impersonation. One, they just didn't hire anyone who knew how to do it. Two, they didn't do any research to actually figure out how to set it up. And three, it's honestly more indicative of a rug pull at that point because people who are just in it for a quick buck aren't going to care about the safety of their community. So it can be helpful to determine if a project's going to be successful just based on the amount of care that they put into it too. So yeah, that's basic coverage of a bunch of different Discord bots, a little bit of Discord server setup. I could probably do a whole another course on all of that, but we're going to go back to the slides now. If people left the slides, and we're going to talk about a couple community scams. I call community scams because they're basically scams that can occur without compromising a mod or a team member. They're just done by normal user accounts, and there are a lot of them. But first one to keep an eye out for is a fake collection scam. So anyone can make an NFT. NFTs are valuable if they're part of a collection and part of the actual smart contracts that publish the collection, right? So you got to be careful about people making fake NFTs off of different smart contracts and trying to sell them as the real valuable NFT. So what this effectively means is never click a link to OpenSea or Blur or wherever that someone directs you to go buy something. You should always try and navigate to the collection itself and then navigate to the specific token that they're trying to sell. The reaction to a lot of these is going to be never click the link that someone sends you. You should always navigate there yourself. So this is just something to watch out for. If you look at the screenshot, you'll notice it's an amazing deal, 30% lower than floor. Why wouldn't you just list it a little bit lower than floor to get it to instantly sell, right? So that FOMO is usually it's a big red flag. So be careful with that. Second thing, you can see that it says Matic, so that's a Matic NFT, which is the wrong network anyways. Third thing, you can see that there is a really long token ID. That's because that's off of OpenSea's storefront, so a different smart contract. So yeah, lots of red flags there. You just have to keep an eye open for it. And yeah, never click a link that someone sends you to buy something. Always get there yourself. fake trade sites, escrows. If you look on the right, the screenshot there, I include all of the different names there are known and verified scam trade sites. Each of those sites required someone to go and come up with a new brand name, register the domain, create a website for it, and then go out and try and get people to use it, right? And you can see how many there are. They've done this a lot, and it works. So, don't use trade sites. Just don't use it. Please. They're just fraught with potential ways for you to lose your money. Just don't use them. OpenSea has their new deals thing, which if you're going to do trades, do it through OpenSea deals. There are potentially some issues with that, but there are less issues. I just in general don't recommend using trade sites at all. And don't use escrows either. But yeah, it's dangerous. And yeah, the actual websites that you go to, if you follow a link that they send to you, might be a wallet drainer. It might be a trade site where it'll show you that the trade went through, but it actually didn't. There's just lots of different variations of the scam, which leads to escrow scams. I would recommend never doing an escrow, never being an escrow. There's lots of different ways for attackers to potentially create two groups, like one with their alt account that they're then impersonating the other person with. There's lots of different variations where they will try and screw you and the middleman, who might be like a moderator or someone, out of the funds. So just again, if you're going to be doing a trade, do it through OpenSea deals instead, or just don't do trades. This one's a little funny. Basically, they'll come up to you and they'll be like, "Hey, let's do this NFT trade," and you'll be like, "Nah, I don't want to. I don't do trades. Johnny Q told me not to do trades." Then they'll be like, okay, damn it, foiled again. How about I just send you the ETH first? So they'll send you the ETH first, and they'll send you an Etherscan transaction, but it'll be goearly.etherscan.io. So what they've done is they've sent you testnet ETH. So it's not actual ETH, it's an actual Etherscan link, but it's fake ETH. So this is easily solvable. Never click an Etherscan link that they send you. If they claim they've sent you funds, go and check Etherscan yourself, or go check your MetaMask to see if the funds have actually arrived. Again, easily solvable. Just don't click the link that they send you that gives you the proof. So yeah, and don't do trust trades like this. And if they're trying to send you ETH first, tell them not to, because they're going to get scammed if they're not a scammer. Talked about this a little bit before. They'll send a fake revoke.cash link. So in this case, this was an old one, revoke.services, which is a fake link. Those links will just contain a wallet drainer. Always navigate to any site if you need to revoke approvals yourself. So revoke, so just figure out what approval sites you want to use. Etherscan has one, Revoke Cash is a popular one. I think DBank has one, and bookmark it if you ever need to use it. And don't ever click a link to actually get to it. Paid alpha group scams, these ones look like spam. You should know it. If someone's running around spamming their alpha group to get members, it's not going to be good. You shouldn't pay for it. Yeah. Sympathy donation scams. You have to be really careful anytime someone's asking for donations, using sympathy to try and raise money. One, it might be legit. You never know, but it's still okay to be suspicious. Two, it might be someone who got their account compromised, so you have to be careful. Three, even if it's going towards a legitimate cause, legitimate charity or whatever, the charity itself might be run improperly. So it's really hard to make donations go to the right place and actually be used for what they say they're being used for. So yeah, just be really careful and don't trust any donation schemes just right out the gate. Always double check, do your due diligence before you send any type of money. This one we talked about before. Basically, scammers will come into a server and try and report a community member or holder. They will provide evidence that someone sent them a DM with suspicious links or something like that. The way to identify this is if a brand new member joins the server and immediately reports someone for scamming, and if that person that they're reporting is a known community member, or they look like they're an account that is, very much in the NFT space. So just be careful about brand new accounts reporting people, and take a couple of minutes to investigate it. And then so the fake announcement airdrop usually happens after a moderator gets compromised, but sometimes they will try and just post it in general chat with spam as well. If you see a random message in general chat from a bot, or what looks like a bot that's just spamming that there's an Arbitrum airdrop you can claim, don't click it. It's not true. It's fake. And this is also like related to all the DMs that you get spammed when you join a new NFT server. If you get DM spammed about an airdrop or a mint or something, it's a scam. So don't do it. But yeah, that is going to be the end of my slides. Does anyone have any questions? I guess we can just kind of open up to general questions at this point.
That was amazing, John. Thank you so much. And I wanted to add, I think we figured out this new Discord where you can hide links. I'm not too sure if you heard about it, where you can
Yes, the
track
markdown
it.
links.
Yeah, and
They
they've just directed
they
to another link.
they are a pain in the ass. The bane of my existence. I actually went through and so you can add an auto mod. So the Discord auto mod, you can add a filter that will just make it so people can't do the markdown links.
Okay. Is
I
that a
went through and
Discord setting?
yes, so it's under server settings, safety setups, auto mod, create new blocked words, and then there's some regex you can add. I can just post the regex in a second.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have a look at
Let
that.
me
Because
let me
I
find.
just found out like I think two or 3 days ago. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. So Discord mentioned that they were going to do this. So if you think about it, bots and webhooks have always been able to do this.
Mm.
So they've always been able to use the markdown links. Just users haven't been able to. So they mentioned that they were going to add this in a couple of months ago, like 6 months back. When it came time to actually roll it out, they didn't roll it out, which was good because a lot of people were making a lot of noise about it. But then they just randomly rolled it out like a week ago or whatever.
Wow.
And haha, to answer your question, smoke 17 packs of cigarettes every single day. But yeah, I just posted the regex. If you put the regex into the auto mod, that will stop the markdown links.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
And yeah, that will just stop them from being posted in the server at all. And yeah, it's really not too big of a deal because when you click the link, it will pop up and say you're going to such and such address. Are you sure you want to go there? You have to click a button to actually confirm and then go to it. And then at the actual website itself, you have the URL in the top bar, so you can check it again there. So moral of the story is no matter how you are getting to a website, you should always, always, always double, triple check the URL bar at the very top before signing anything. Yeah. So just always check before signing anything that you're at the right place.
Yeah. And this is aliens in language. Amazing. Let me see if anyone has any questions for John. John.
Yep.
And welcome
So
into
feel free.
Surgence.
Thank you. Feel free to unmute if you want to ask it, or just type in chat if you're shy. Either way works.
Can you hear me, John?
Yes.
Yeah, so my question is like normally if someone asks you like um how many numbers are in the dozen, like okay, if you're buying a banana, okay, so it's 1 dozen. Um, so how many bananas will be there? So some people answer like it's 12. So then you can edit your message. You can say like how old are you? And can you report the person and get it banned? like using like
Um,
changing your message and getting him banned.
so potentially yes, but potentially no. So Discord support
Yeah.
does have access to see what the edited messages were before. But it really depends on like what support agent you get. I haven't really seen that used too maliciously in the NFT space yet. What they are doing at this point is if they manage to compromise, especially like a server owner account, if they want to
Yeah.
ban that account after they compromise it, they will access an API. They'll self bot to access an API that Discord has told people not to hit. Basically checking to see if a username is available. And if you do that too much, they will just ban the account for 24 hours. So that's the route that they've been using to ban accounts. But for the most part, trying to get accounts banned doesn't really help their cause. They want to compromise them and get access to them instead of getting them banned.
Mm. And I just wanted to add in regards to community. So if someone does that, we do have in Surgence we have Cobalt where you can see what message was edited into. So if anyone wants to report a certain member for acting a certain way, because they edit the message, we can have a look at that as well. So in terms of like communities and moderation, I think that's fine. But if someone wants to get the count banned, I think that's a different topic. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Vic also does that.
My other recommendation too, if you're worried about malicious people trying to ban you, is go through your authorized apps. It's in user settings, authorized apps. Those are all the different Discord bots and OAuths that you've signed. And what you should specifically do is go through them and look for any applications that you've granted access to join servers on your behalf, and revoke those accesses.
Definitely. I know what it means, so I don't do that one for
Yeah.
sure.
So the reason why that's scary is if an OAuth has permission to join servers on your behalf, if that OAuth
They
token ever
won't
gets
join.
compromised in some way, the attackers could have you join malicious servers. And being in the wrong server is more likely to get you banned than random message edit changes.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks, John.
But like I said, I haven't seen this really in the crypto space. This is more if you participate in the darker corners of Discord, where it's more likely that that's going to occur.
I was just watching, trying to know more on the security part, so I got to find out about it from there. And message editing and other kind of stuffs. Join Discord servers for you and all other things.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, John.
Do you have any other questions about Discord server security stuff? It looks like you say that you do setups and stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm also using Wake and Good Night. Good Night for like 2FA and like stopping announcements, links, and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Wake for nuke and all stuff. Yeah. Mm,
That's good to hear. That's a good starting point. You're also using cold admins, I presume?
yeah, definitely.
Cool. For everyone else, there were a couple of comments in the chat about cold admins, but a cold Discord account or a cold Discord admin is basically a second Discord account on a different device that you only ever use to interact and change things in a Discord server. So you never use that account to chat, you never use that account to DM people, etc. And it's on a different device, so if you download malware onto your first device, the one that you use every day, it's not going to affect that cold account. Basically, it's an account that's set up to be really, really hard to phish. And those cold accounts should be the only accounts in your Discord server that have admin permissions, that have elevated permissions. And that's going to make it way harder for attackers to phish your server. So Phoenix, what about PDF, Google Sheet Docs, files, etc.? So the way that those files usually work to get you to actually get like compromised is you'll download them and it'll look like a PDF file, but it'll actually be a screensaver file, which no one ever uses or knows what they are. It'll look like a PDF, it'll have a PDF icon, and once you click it, it will actually open up the screensaver file, and at that point, it will basically run malware on your device. So the best way to deal with that is I recommend always dragging PDF, Excel, everything into Google Drive and opening it on Google Drive. So opening it in Google Sheets specifically, or opening up the PDF in Google Drive. If you're running it through Google Drive instead, you don't have the opportunity to accidentally, run the wrong thing locally. If you're running everything in Google Drive, you're not going to infect yourself with malware. So that's what I recommend mostly. It's just try to run as few things as possible locally. If you don't have some sort of an antivirus on a Windows device, I would recommend getting it. It's not going to stop everything, but it's an okay safeguard. Malwarebytes is pretty good if you need a recommendation. And Strek, make sure that you have that separate account on a different device. If you just have a separate account that's not logged in, that's on the same device, you're still at risk for malware. It's less likely that your Discord token will get phished, which is good. But if you get malware on your device, it'll just take both accounts with it. So not super great, especially if that account has like server owner. Any other questions while I'm here?
To go and make the most of it, guys. So, any silly questions, he is the perfect one to answer.
If you guys think of any other questions in the future, feel free to just message me on Twitter. I have my DMs open on there. Also, my DMs open on Discord, which I don't recommend most people do. But you can message me here or there. I'm usually pretty quick when responding if you have just any random questions. And if I don't know the answer, I usually know someone I can forward you to. So.
Awesome. That's awesome, John. Thank you so much for coming in and hosting this amazing session. I think a lot of community members did have such great insight from this. So thank you so much.
Of course, it was a lot of fun. It was great being here.
Yeah, awesome. We'll wrap it up now. And then if anyone has missed the session, there will be a recording posted later. And then you can ping him and tag him if you have any questions there. But thank you all. Thank you. Have a great night or day wherever you are. Have a good Friday. I'll see you guys soon.
Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.